Hi friends, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today is going to be my wrap up for last week. Admittedly, I didn't read that many books, but I wanted to do a mini video regardless. I can't remember if in 2 weeks vlog ago I talked about Devil in Spring, but I ended up giving this 5 stars. This was probably my favorite book in the Ravenel series. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did in fact wrap up the book, but I just loved this book, and I loved Pandora and Gabriel. I loved the sense of agency that Pandora was given in her life in a time that she didn't really have it, from Gabriel and everybody in her life. So then I listened to the audiobook of Grin Bearded by Penny Reed. This is the second book in the Winston Brothers series, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time in this series. So this is a romance between a popular actress and a small town guy who is like a park ranger. And in the beginning of the book, Sienna, who is the heroine, her car breaks down. She is going to the small town where the Winston Brothers series takes place because she is filming a movie there. And when her car breaks down, the park ranger, whose name is Jethro, finds her, and she's immediately skeptical because she has had experience with people just trying to get to her because of her fame, of who she is. And so when he doesn't immediately recognize her, she gives him a different name than who she really is and lies about why she is in town. She says that she's a writer, and fails to tell him that she's actually there to act in a scene. And a romance sparks between them. Obviously, this is going to create some tension. You're lying about who you are and why you're there. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I really liked their relationship. I think that this series is just like a fun little listen. There's like strong family ties, and I really liked the hero's reaction to the fact that the heroine was lying. You're going to see cat hair flying everywhere, just so you know. He like took it in stride. He didn't have an issue with it. He didn't hold it against her, and they handled it very maturely. Now, the actual conflict of the story and the subsequent events I didn't really love. I didn't love the heroine, but they were good little reads, and I'm definitely interested in continuing the series. So then I read Broken Vow. So if you did not know, Letitia from Books and Bees and I are reading the Brutal Birthright series together, and this is the 5th book in the Brutal Birthright series, and this is between Rylan and Riona, who is the sister to Kellum's family. And she is this hotshot lawyer who is always very cold and always career driven. She never really cares about maintaining relationships with people, and she seems to be very concerned with everything being in its place, everything right, and getting this promotion at her job. And then something happens to her and she has to go into hiding. And so Dante, who was a hero from previous books, recruits the help of one of his friends, Rylan, who is this Tennessee cowboy who grew up on a ranch, and he is now her bodyguard. He was in the military, all that kind of stuff. Now he does like civilian work, civilian bodyguarding. And so he takes her to his ranch in Tennessee, and that's basically it. I gave this 3 stars. I like this series, but I have found that the magic of the first one just was lost throughout the rest of the series. I think they've all been 4 stars, and they're just not as impressive. And this one is very different than the rest of them. It lacks a lot of that like mafia elements that the other ones have, and this was sweet, but my main issue with this is that Riona the entire time is this headstrong woman who wants her career and doesn't want to be trampled on by men, who wants to earn her place. And she quickly loses all of that. She loses all of that drive, and her reaction is, well, I love him, so I'm going to give up everything for him. And that just feels so out of character, and I don't quite get what the point was, because the hero himself even says, I was willing to give up my place in Tennessee to be with you because I understand that you want your own career, and I love that about you, and you're so headstrong and you're so driven. And she just loses all of that to go live on a farm in Tennessee and pump out babies. Like, it just was very disappointing. It felt like she lost all of her agency, and we could have gotten them an HEA in a different way without our heroine losing all of the things that made her a great heroine. You could have resolved some of the issues that made her the prickly, cold heroine that she was, which I don't feel like needs to be resolved. That's just her personality. You could have made it so maybe her anxieties were assuaged a little bit. Maybe she wasn't as like high strung, as stressed out, but you didn't have to remove all of her drive and all of her ambitions for her to be in this relationship with him. So it just ruined the entire book. Like, honestly, that ending, any positives that I had about the book, anything that I enjoyed was honestly ruined by that ending. And I'm excited to continue with the Kingmaker series. I love Sophie Lark. I think she's a fantastic author, but this series to me is just very subpar. I think it is incredibly overhyped, but it does make me excited to read their children's books because I know how good those series are. And then the last thing that I read was The Doctor by Nikki Sloane. So this is kind of touted as the a little bit longer than Your Dad Will Do, but shorter than Birthday Girl, sexy, steamy book. So this is about Cassidy, and in the beginning of the book, she breaks up with her boyfriend and then starts hooking up with her boyfriend's dad, and that's kind of the plot of the book. It's a little ridiculous, honestly, because she has to break up with her ex-boyfriend like 6 times, and the whole thing was just not as great as I wanted it to be. It wasn't everything that I was hoping it would be. I did give it 3 stars, and I think the issue, and this is a consistent issue for me, is that they had a very early hookup, so all of the tension in the book was lost. In addition to that, the hero's name is Greg, which, like, if I'm gonna think of like a daddy, Greg is not a daddy, but it just was over the top and a little bit ridiculous, and it just wasn't like everything that I think it was touted to be. It wasn't everything that I wanted it to be. And I think if we had, even though it's like it's a little under 300 pages, I think if we'd had a bit more tension, a bit more breaks in between them hooking up, maybe we had that initial heavy petting scene, and then we had a little bit more tension between them, more scenes of them interacting, and then them hooking up, it would have been a little bit more tension filled. But because we had that initial heavy petting scene and then immediately they go into having sex, it just released all of that like forbidden tension that you would love and want out of this ex-boyfriend's dad situation. So while I appreciated what it did because it's a sexy trope and I like it and I'm gonna love it regardless, it just wasn't the best it could be. It wasn't the best for me personally, because I just know myself and I know what I do and do not like in a romance, and that early hookup just ruins everything for me. So while I love the ex-boyfriend's father trope, even better if there's a daddy kink in there, this just wasn't for me. And if she writes another like this, which I doubt she will, I would definitely pick it up. And if you know of any ex-boyfriend's father romances, leave them down in the comments because I would love to read more. But this was just not it. I gave it 3 stars. I also started reading Nemesis. It's what I'm currently reading, and it is the first book in the Heroes and Villains series, and this is basically a Marvel story from what I could gather, and it's about All-American Man, who is the hero. You have Lilith, who is his fiance, and then you have the Raven, who is the villain. And in the beginning of the book, the All-American Man and the Raven are enemies, and you are getting Lilith and Raven, the Raven's point of view. And his point of view is following All-American Man and his fiance Lilith, and he sees All-American Man get into an accident that seemingly was on purpose, and through like watching recordings back of the incident, he sees that All-American Man tried to kill his fiancée Lilith after having just proposed to her and going on national television, you know, touting about their romantic relationship. So he saves Lilith, brings her in, and they have a romantic relationship. I am maybe 30% of the way through this, and again, this features an early hookup between Lilith and the Raven, and that's just something that loses all steam for me. I want the angst in the relationship. Angst in plot is not something that I particularly love in romance. You can have them together. You can have angst in the relationship and external plots that are going on and that are tense, but you cannot break that tension in the relationship for me. It never works, and it just makes for a boring story because 99% of the time I find that the plot just doesn't compensate for the tension of the relationship. So we'll see if I end up DNFing it. At the moment, I've kind of stepped back and I'm reading a middle grade, but that's the read that I ended the week on. So that is the very quick update for all of the things that I read last week. Last week was mostly spent with me just like letting myself do other things besides read. I can sort of feel that at coming to the end of the year, I'm just tired of reading constantly and I need a break. And so I've kind of relied on audiobooks to help me while I'm playing video games or while I'm cleaning or doing other things. And so I just need to take a step back and allow myself to do other things because I'm an all or nothing person with anything in my life, and I get to a point where I'm all for so long that I need to be nothing for a little bit. And so that's kind of what I'm feeling these last couple of weeks of December, and I'm still kind of dealing with it now. So all of that is to say, don't name your romance heroes Greg, don't break tension early in a story, and give me some recommendations down in the comments for ex-boyfriend's father if you have them, or just comment on anything that I talked about in this video. I know it was a quick one, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in my next one.
Pull me in, draw me close, I wanna hear your heartbeat.